Hello, I'm Antonio Mora. This is the News and News.com Day in Brief. Today's top stories in 4 minutes. It's Tuesday, January 15th at about 7:30 p.m. Is there any chance President Trump will stop calling the Mueller investigation a witch hunt? He should consider it now that his own nominee for Attorney General, William Barr, has said it isn't, contradicting Trump during his testimony in his Senate confirmation hearings. Barr said Mueller will be allowed to complete his work and said that former AG Sessions was right to recuse himself from overseeing Mueller, a decision that infuriated Trump. Barr also insisted he would stand up to the president and not be bullied into doing anything he believes is wrong. Some Democrats still oppose Barr's nomination, in some cases doing backflips to support that stance. One talking head even suggested that you can't take Barr at face value because there could be a conspiracy to undermine Mueller. Other Democrats appeared to only want an AG who would give carte blanche to Mueller with no checks and balances. The reality is that by all historical standards of advice and consent in the Senate, given what we know today, Barr would be easily confirmed. If this again splits down party lines, it will further prove that party politics matter more than reasonable governing. It's tough to blame Democrats, though, for boycotting a last-minute invitation to discuss the government shutdown over lunch at the White House. Democrats said they didn't want to allow Trump a photo op that would show a fake facade of bipartisanship. No new offer was on the table, and the lunch was an attempt to bypass Speaker Pelosi and the Democratic leadership who weren't invited. Seemingly fruitless negotiations continued behind the scenes on Capitol Hill as 40,000 members of the Coast Guard missed a paycheck today. It is the first time active duty members of the U.S. military have not been paid during a shutdown. Both Democrats and Republicans should be ashamed. UK Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit plan was spectacularly rejected in the most devastating defeat ever for a British government in parliamentary history. The deal collapsed because it didn't satisfy either extreme. Pro-Brexit lawmakers want a cleaner break from the EU, while the pro-EU folks think it goes too far. May now faces another no-confidence vote to remove her on Wednesday, but she again is likely to survive. The question is how Brexit will survive, and this is something that could affect us in the US. A hard break from the EU with no deal could trigger a recession in the UK that would have significant ripples around the world in what is already a weakening global economy. And Britain, like the US, faces an inability to compromise among its politicians. If the Labour Party were to support a second Brexit referendum, we could see another vote that might keep the UK in the EU. But Labour is happy with the status quo because May's failure to reach a deal hurts the Tory government. Stay tuned. The Kremlin is dismissing as a conspiracy the media reports that the FBI looked into whether Trump could be acting on Russia's behalf. Of course, it's not like the Kremlin would say, sure, Trump is Putin's puppet. While it's hard to believe that Trump is in any way compromised, reports about what he has allegedly done and said behind the scenes is adding fuel to the fire. Reports say the administration has not kept detailed notes of Trump-Putin meetings for the past 2 years, and that Trump raised serious concerns among his aides when he discussed pulling the U.S. from NATO. That's the stuff Putin's dreams are made of. Maybe it's just Trump bluster because he has called NATO obsolete at his political rallies while separately saying that the U.S. has a strong commitment to the North Atlantic Alliance. The White House called the story meaningless, but Trump might want to consider his words more carefully when discussing a crucial alliance that thousands of our troops are serving abroad, including in Afghanistan. Somalia-based al-Shabaab terrorists attacked a luxury hotel in Nairobi, Kenya. There is no official word on casualties, but it further proves that the al-Qaeda-linked group is like a dangerous cornered animal, weakened by American drone strikes, but clearly not defeated. It is focusing on soft targets, including its attacks on Garissa University and the Westgate Mall in Kenya, and government offices and hotels in Somalia that have made it one of the world's most deadly terrorist organizations. And aside from its terrorism, al-Shabaab is triggering enormous suffering in Somalia, extorting huge sums from starving communities while forcibly recruiting children as soldiers and suicide bombers. 2.6 million people have been displaced. That's almost a quarter of the Somali population. In our alternate universe segment, The Great Divide Between Conservative and Liberal Media, the disservice the major cable news networks are providing the country was painfully evident in their pre-game coverage of the Barr hearing. On the left, the networks set aside their basic responsibility of providing information, focusing instead on any possible negative for Barr and Trump. Fox, on the other hand, worked hard to avoid the negatives. The broadcast networks, of course, have long since capitulated, mostly ceding coverage of live events to the cable folks. So good luck getting a balanced picture of the Attorney General nominee or the Senate proceedings. We have all the stories and much more updated around the clock 7 days a week on newsandnews.com, where you'll find all you need to know in one place. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the right of your screen just below this video. Please follow us on Twitter, follow me on Twitter at AMoraTV, follow us on Facebook at Real News and News, and I will see you again tomorrow.